Cool. All right, welcome everybody to the Reality or Not podcast with your homie Big Ed, King of Detroit Williams. How you doing today, Ed?
I'm all right, man. What about you, man? I can't
Doing pretty
complain.
good. Doing pretty good, man. Energy up. A little tired, but you always got to figure out where to find the next bit of energy. Jump right
Sounds
into
so
it.
inspirational.
You say what?
Sounds so inspirational.
Hey man, shoot, wake up every day. I'll be tired. I don't feel like doing that. I don't feel like working for nobody, but I'm not Dame yet where everybody's a boss. I think I do all right for myself, but I can't make money out of nothing. So
I got you.
cool. All right, well, we go jump right into it. One of these topics I just added, you may not have seen it because I literally just added maybe about 15 minutes ago, but it's a straightforward topic. I don't think it's nothing crazy. But another reason I'm asking is I just came from the barber not too long ago. But how do you feel about tipping service people? Like, so say for instance, within restaurants or within service industry, such as a barber or someone that does your yard, etc. Like, how do you feel about that? Because I always got like mixed feelings between it, just because it depends on, at least for me, the level of tipping that I'm doing, and then what you're doing for me. And am I paying for a service, or am I paying for a service to be able to throw some on top of it? So what's your take on that?
I mean, I don't really mind it. I think I tip my barber. Sometimes if somebody's doing some yard work for me, I might tip them, but it really depends on if I feel like they've maybe done a little bit more. Like I think a guy that's come over for me over the past couple of years and done things for me, like he'll start off with only doing one thing, but then he'll do a couple other things, and he won't change the price. So I'll tip him. But if you come over, the one thing, like as far as yard work for me, I have a big yard, so I ask you what you're gonna charge, and I tell you to make sure you take a look at the yard, and you can tell me what you want to pay. I mean, charge, and I agree to it or I don't agree to it. If we agree on it, then I really don't feel necessarily obligated to tip that person.
Yeah, it's a number. It's a number y'all agreed on.
Yeah,
That's like a contract, right? Like if you go work for the company that you work for, and they say, well, do you want to work for $30,000 a year, or do you want to work for $130,000 a year? If you agree to that $30,000 a year, there shouldn't be much to expect outside of that 30,000. But yeah, that yard work thing is a thing. I had a situation where when I first moved into my house, where a guy was like, hey, I was looking for somebody to cut down some trees in the back. And the guy, I got some quotes before, and I just didn't like the quotes. The quotes were around like $800-900. And then one guy came and he was like, well, I'll just do $400. So I'm like, okay, cool. This is perfect. This is half of what I'm seeing as far as the numbers. So I'm like, I'm not tripping. So I ended up paying him $400. Well, he looked at the yard, and that's what he evaluated it as. And then as he's moving forward, he's like, oh man, this is a lot more yard than what I expected. And I'm like, well, you looked at it. It wasn't, I twisted your arm to say, hey, I only got $400. What you gonna do? But even on top of that, after he said, and I kind of thought about it, and I'm like, well, I'd expected 800 plus. I wanted less, but that was the number that kept popping up. So I was like, how about this? I told him, I was like, well, how about I give you an extra 100, just to knock it out and be able to get the job done, because he was probably only maybe halfway done, maybe I would say 50-60% done.
Right.
I gave him that extra 100. That nigga didn't come back. You know what I'm saying? And I was trying to do him a service. And this is where, like, sometimes with service, you pay for what you get, right? But at the same time, I'm looking at it as I paid him up front because I'm like, hell, this is a deal. I don't want to miss out on being able to, keep him committed to doing my yard. But then I end up throwing him some extra money on top of it. And he still, he played me. Like he didn't finish what he had committed to. So there's little stuff like that. Then I always think about too, like even with, with restaurants and stuff like that, because I don't mind tipping. I think it's kind of, it is an American culture to tip. Right. But if somebody, like one thing I know, like being like traveling overseas and seeing all of these other places where some places won't even allow you to tip just because it's not a part of their nature. Like, how do you feel if you're in, say for instance, you're in a restaurant, right? And they say, well, automatic, because when it don't sit well with me. It's okay because I tipped that anyway, or I tip more than that. But when they automatically add the gratuity to the receipt, like how do you feel about that? Even if it's not a 6-person and up table, but just adding a gratuity automatically, even if it's just you frequenting the place by yourself. Like, how do you feel about that?
I mean, if you automatically add the gratuity, then you probably really gotta go above and beyond for me to go above that, because now if the gratuity is typically when they add it in, it's 18%. Now, if I say I wanted to do 25%, now I got to figure out the other 7%. Now, I'm not doing that. You want to add the gratuity in, then we essentially entered into a contract that this is what you're going to tip on, the 18%. Now, of course, if somebody I feel like goes above and beyond, because typically my standard for tipping is I'll typically start you at 20%. And then from there, you can either work your way up or down. A lot of times, and I don't require a lot for you to kind of work yourself up. If you keep my drink filled, if you come back to the table in a timely manner, then you might be able to get up to like 25%. But if you add the gratuity in there, I'm not going to. Like I said, then you probably gotta go really above and beyond, for me to do it. So I don't have a. Like I said, if
you don't have a set amount that you focus on, like you just literally base it off of the performance and how how they are continuously engaging with you as far as your meal or your drinks or whatever.
Yeah, like I said, it's typically the baseline is 20. Like now to go down, you probably have to really provide bad service. Like and there's things I won't hold you accountable for. If the kitchen is slow, I'm not holding you accountable for that. You can't control what the kitchen does, but if you come out with a shitty attitude, like if I look around and like the restaurant's really not that busy, but you haven't come back around to refill my drink and my drink's been sitting empty for 10 minutes or so, or like it kind of takes a lot for me to start like decreasing the tip, but I will. Like if you just kind of take it for granted, like I said, I'll just start decreasing it. Like I think there's only been one time where I really just didn't leave anybody a tip, and that was because she really was trash. I think it was like a buffet,
that's even worse. It's like you barely even, if you ain't filling up my drinks, I'm eating in this bitch. Like what I mean, that's really all you got to do if it's a buffet. Is like literally fill up the drink and check on me every now and then to see how it's going. Like you can fill up my drink every 5 or 10 minutes and I think I'll be all right, and I would still do the 20, 25.
Yeah, but and she won't fill up the drink. She never came and cleared the table. Just kind of a trash attitude, and so I didn't leave her anything. Like I felt like you did absolutely nothing. Like you didn't even clear the place away. You didn't get refills. So like, what am I giving you a tip for? But and it wasn't busy either. That was the thing too. Like it wasn't even busy in there at the time. It was fairly empty. She probably only had like a couple of tables. So
and all you could do is make assumptions about that. Like, right. You can't as a person, you're gonna be like, what are they doing? Like, are they just chilling? Are they just back there on the phone? Are they just talking to other people? Yeah. Are they giving better service to other people, but not me? And it's like then that psychologically fucks with you to be able to be like, nah, you getting less than.
Right. Yeah. So
cool. Well, so let me ask you this question. What's some movies or TV shows that you feel like you shouldn't, or not say that you shouldn't have watched them as a kid, but was a lot more than what you was able to understand as a kid. Like I'll give you a prime example for me, right? One of the movies I remember watching as a kid that, going back to it, and I'm like, damn, they was kind of wilding. It was like Porky's. Like it was a lot of just shit going on in that movie, like fucking all kind, like it was all over the place. And I remember it's one of my favorite movies, but it's and it's on YouTube. It's called Hamburger University. And like I don't remember it being a huge movie, but I remember watching it, and I just remember it was a scene where it was a she might have been a teacher, or she was the teacher's wife or something like that. But the guy came into the restaurant, and the teacher saw him, or one of the kids that she liked jumped under the table with the other friend, so the teacher didn't see him. And then while he's under the table, he starts eating her out and fingering her. And it's like, but I didn't know what the fuck. Like, I mean, all I knew was it was a pussy down there, and like, but I'm saying like it wasn't like, it was that transparent to me as a kid what they was doing. I knew they was doing something, but I didn't know what the hell was going on down there. But like, I was probably 7 or 8, years old at the time, probably even younger. But I just remember that movie vividly. I was like, damn, they was doing something under the table, but shit, and nigga, like I didn't know, So, but like, what's something? I mean, it doesn't have to necessarily be like the 80s, because you got Revenge of the Nerds. You got like even Coming to America. One of the things that threw me off, I didn't realize it until I got a little older, was when she says the royal penis is clean, Your Highness, but like she's under the water, right? She's under the water, and then you see him go like, and it's like, was Eddie busting a nut at that point? Like, what was the the premise behind him? Like that side is like, it only opens your mind up to interpretation as you get a little older, and you start to see little things like that. Like as a kid, I was just like, maybe she's just wiping that dick like a motherfucker and shit. Like that's all I could think about. And I don't think it even clicked to me until I think I was listening to the Luda album. It was like, was that Chicken and Beer? I think it was. And it had that same, it was like the royal penis is clean, Your Highness. He'd be like, thank you, King shit, or something like that. And, and then I went back and watched it. I was like, he was busting a nut, but so to take it off of me a little bit, what's some movies that stick out to you, that, or TV shows or anything like that stick out to you that you like, well, maybe I shouldn't have been watching that as a kid? Like what's something that you can think of?
I can't think of anything specifically, but I'm like you. Like some of these I haven't gone back and looked at since I was a kid. But I'm sure if I were to go back and look at some of the police academies, there's probably some of that adult humor in there that went over my head. Like I can't think of anything specifically. Now I know when I was a kid, like,
I mean, they ain't got to be as a kid. It could be as a nigga, like Oz, like Oz or something like even us being that, I want to say Oz came out, was it 99 or 2000?
Yeah,
like
you said as far as
98?
something that we shouldn't have been watching.
Yeah. Just something that we like. If you look back at it, like I was rewatching Oz as an example, and I'm like, damn, like I was watching this, I was fucking 18, 19 years old, and like, damn, like this is some fucked up shit, but think watching it now, I think not to say that I necessarily understand the jail or prison culture, but that was something that I own every season of Eyes on DVD, you know what I'm saying? And watching it now, I still, it probably got bad after, I think it's like after maybe season 4, when I think they split that one up into 2 parts. It was either season 4 or season 5, I can't remember. But I just remember thinking, I was like, damn, it's a lot going on in this show that I couldn't, I was just watching it for the entertainment aspect of it, but I remember one time, and my mom was a prison guard. And one time I was just watching, and she was like, why are you watching this? And I was like, I don't know. I just find the entertainment. Like I like Adebisi, you know, I like characters on the show that, you know, were pretty interesting. So just anything like that. It ain't got to be like anything specific that, I mean, because Police Academy was terrible. They was fucking the Police Academy shit. I mean, honestly, you know, watching shit like Raw and Delirious, you know what I'm saying? And going back, watching them as adults as I was as a kid, because I was a huge Eddie Murphy fan. So watching it as a kid, I was more, you know, I was just more in tune to it being Eddie Murphy. But then watching it as adults, I was like, damn, like, because Eddie Murphy was only, I think he was maybe 21. He was around, he was early 20s when he like after he shot both of them. So he was talking about stuff that, you know, an 18 to 25-year-old would know about, or even, you know, even older. So but like, but what about you? Like, what's some things that stick out the most to you if it did or not?
Probably the only thing that really sticks out is me watching The Color Purple when I was mad young. And I've never watched The Color Purple as an adult, but I know you hear things like, I know there's things that went over my head in Color the Purple because I was a kid when I first watched it. Like, I want to say, I think my mom took us to the theater to go see it because I think she really wanted to see it. And so I know that there's a lot of, like, I don't think like I picked up on, like, I think it was Suge and whoever Whoopi Goldberg's character was, like them having a lesbian relationship. Like, I think the probably abuse that Mr. was just putting her through and all that. Like, there's things, like I said, I've always said I want to go back and look at it now that I'm an adult, but then I forget that I want to go back and look at it. But that's probably the one that sticks out to me the most.
Color Purple for me was more funny or more entertaining rather than actually, you know, thinking about the whole situation. It's like, oh, Celie, you shoulder is ugly, or you know, her dropping the pee in the lemonade, or hell, even you know, Oprah Winfrey, you know, not hitting that. She hit the lady, she hit the dude or whatever, but you know,
Harpo.
She got out. Well, no, not the Harpo part, but when she hit the white dude and ended up having to work for that white lady or whatever after she went to jail and stuff. It was kind of like, it was, you know, that I hate to say it, but as a kid, it was just like, you know, it was sad once she got out, you know, or once she finished working for the white lady. But you know, it was just crazy that you know, that it was more entertaining part of it versus like the actual, you know, it being a tough situation. So
no, that makes sense. Like I said, I think there probably will be some things that, like, I didn't completely understand that, like, probably just from my sense of humor, I would probably see as funny, but I think I'll watch it today and also recognize, like, that some of this was probably actually meant to be serious and things of that nature. But I might go back and watch it one day. I just get caught up with having to watch so many other things that, like, I feel like it is a heavy movie. I don't know that I really want to sit through it all the time.
You know, it's like watching Passion of the Christ again, bro. Like, you know, I mean, it's just, you know, if you watch it, you watch it. I mean, I always say protect your energy. Like, if it's a movie that you feel like is going to, you know, I don't believe in, like, I saw 12 Years a Slave. It's like, well, I don't really feel like I need to go and I mean, I did watch that a little bit because it came out 2000s, 2010, somewhere around there. But that's something I don't need to rewatch ever again. I mean, you know. Yeah. So, but let me ask you. Oh, and then another part too. With I'm glad you brought up Color Purple. I don't know if you remember when her sister was trying to go to school, and then Mr. was messing with her, and she was just like, I just want to go to school. I just want to go to school, you know, and you know, then she's just walking, and then like he's doing all this shit and and then next thing you know, he disappears, and we're like, oh shit, nigga disappeared, you know, like You know, it was
Yeah.
entertainment part of it, but then after that, like nigga was trying to like rape her and shit. Was like, bro, like, you know, it went from 0 to 60 real quick, you know, from entertainment
Right.
to heavy shit, you know. So
Gotcha.
it's little things like that plays its part in that movie. And I never read the book, and I'm not sure how, you know, how deep they went with that, but I know that they did go a little bit deeper, as you said, with Silly and or girls' relationship. But
Right. Yeah. Gotcha.
so, all right, let me ask you this question. You know, and I know you're a Game of Thrones fan. If you was put into a house, what house would you prefer to be in?
Just off the
Based off
top,
of what you've seen season 1 through 8, you saw House of the Targaryens, hindsight 2020. Which house would you be a part of, or would you? I guess which house would you, so it could be a 2-part question. Which house would you want to be a part of, and then how successful do you think you would have been in that house?
I don't. I mean, if you say I mean, I guess some of it might depend what time period you're talking about, because you could say the Targaryens, but by the time you get into the timeline for Game of Thrones, they're non-existent with no
And they're
power.
wiped out. Yeah.
Yeah, and the same thing kind of with the Valerians.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if I were to probably, I mean, if I think about the House of Dragons, um, I mean, the easy choice is probably the Targaryens, but I think there's something for the Valerians. I think they were probably allies, strong allies with the Targaryens, especially with Rhaenys or whatever, Rhaena, I can't remember.
All them hoes
Rhaena,
names
whatever.
starts with an RH, nigga. Like,
Yeah, so like
all the names
the
was
one
Rhaenys, Rhaenyra. It was too many. So
yeah, so like probably them plus
Aegon the Third, Anus, all these
yep,
fucking names.
all
So
of them, yeah. But if I were to go on the current or the timeline of Game of Thrones, to me, really, I mean, if you just want to fly under the radar, you probably choose. I mean, it feels like it's either the Lannisters or Starks that you choose between. I guess the other ones you choose, but you choose because, I mean, maybe you just don't want to be that powerful, because if you the Starks, you got to go through all that time of basically pain, seeing your bloodline like
nothing but loss.
killed off. If you're the Lannisters, then you just gotta then you just say you say you're kind of psycho, like you just you're in a BDSM and incest. Like if you want to allow after that, then it's the houses that you don't even think you don't want to be House Bolton.
You don't want to be House
Yeah,
Baratheon.
but like I mean, yeah, you don't want to be
niggas got murked.
Yeah,
so
you don't want to be House Bolton because they're probably sicker than the Lannisters. You know, maybe you lie yourself. Now I can't think of a house. You don't want to be House Frey. I'm trying to think about the little girl, who stood up. I'm trying to think what house she was in. I mean, you might want to work that house.
What's the name of that house? I think of it in a minute, but yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, maybe don't, because they like, as far as just like loyalty, they just they stayed loyal to the Starks. Like they didn't desert them in their time of need. Like if you look at it, like when you think about that scene, I think it's season 7 where she gives that speech, and man, all them houses like they dipped on House Stark, like in House Stark's time of need, and like
Mormont.
Yeah, like I mean, if I just had to go with like that's probably the house I would choose, just off of, because if you go with one of the major houses, to me, like I said, between Stark and Lannisters, then I'll probably go with the Starks. But like, man, like how successful you gonna be? Like, I mean, man, you Yeah, I guess your success measuring your success in Howard Stark is if you just do you think you're gonna make it through without getting killed? Like,
Yeah,
because I mean, all of them had to go on the run to survive. Like,
nigga.
it
If you
wasn't for
ever pay,
that with Sansa.
you ever say, nigga, if you ever really pay it, I mean, and you do, but really looking at it, like they hadn't been together. The Starks hadn't been together as a whole family from like season 1 to
That first
like
dinner.
season
Yeah,
6, and it was literally the first episode.
yeah,
And then once John got shipped off, but it's
yeah,
like crazy. Like it was a scene where it's like John, Sansa, Bran is in his Norwegian wheelchair. You know what I'm
yeah.
saying? And Arya all walking by that tree, like outside, like they finally come together. And I'm like, and I thought, I'm like, damn, these niggas ain't seen each like they've seen. Like I remember Arya saw John while he was fighting up north. But
Right.
you know, they said, well, you know, just go. Like they weren't able to communicate with each other. But they all kept
Yep.
like. I remember when I mean, I thought he was whack anyway. But I remember when Recon was fucking, and my man shot up with the arrow and shit and just killed him.
Yeah.
I'm like, God damn,
Yep.
you know, like that was his first sight of seeing his brother in like maybe I don't know what the age, because it seemed like, you know, we see it every 2 years or however the amount of time that the show ran, but you know, it's years that have gone by that
That they
within them
saw each
time
other.
frames, and it's like, well, damn, I ain't seen him in 10 years, and
Right.
now he's running towards me. He's about to get shot with an arrow at the Battle of the Bastards. It's
Yeah.
just crazy to me, you know. So it's hard for me. I love the Starks. I think the Starks are the more honorable group to go with. I would probably take the Lannisters just because. I mean, if
You
I
like
was able
incest?
to, you said what?
Because you like incest?
No, it ain't the incest thing. If you really look at it, and I feel like the showrunners knew what they was doing. Cersei and Jamie fucking fucked it up as far as my perceptions of the Starks of the Lannisters initially, because that was literally the only ones that was just like fucking each other, and damn near Tywin said stop doing it, you know, and these niggas kept fucking, you know. So it's just little things like that. I'm like, Tywin, I mean, in Tywin supporting his family, you know, could have been looked at as evil, but he was just a wartime general. He just understood how to fight. Only thing I thought was fucked
Right.
up with him was, you know, he fucked Tyrion's girl, and that kind of like, damn, bro, like you go just fuck somebody who you say he in love with, and you know he always fall in love with the hoe. So it's just like, bro, like, why would you hit that one, you know?
Right.
But
Right.
but they were the most consistent group, in my opinion, to kind of not necessarily say stick together, but I mean, if it wasn't for a dragon, honestly, or any dragons in general, like, you know, the Lannisters would probably still be running shit. Like they were just not to say that they were smarter than the others, but they
The
just had more
Republicans.
control. Yeah.
Yeah.
They just had more control of everything in order to get
Yeah.
things done, you know, versus I mean, I guess you could attribute it to Republicans because, you know, because
I
everything
mean,
that's going on right now.
they understand power, and they did what it took to maintain the power. Like when Tywin, I think he orchestrates the Red Wedding. Like I think it's in the conversation he's had, I think, with Tyrion. Like, and essentially his life, like you said, he's a wartime general. It was like kind of like an out of war thing. Like, it's, do I wipe out my competition? Like, do I violate the uh, unwritten rule of you know, you don't attack somebody, like, you know, under that roof, and you know, when they're, you know, they're breaking bread. Do you just say forego that, violate that, kill off like Rob Stark, his mother, a good, basically you cut off the head, because now the war essentially ends. and so now you decrease the loss of lives on both sides. Like it was smart strategically.
And he aligned with the right
w-
ones. Your enemy is
yeah,
my friend type of shit.
yeah,
The enemies of
and
my enemies are my friend. Like, with Walter Frey. I mean, honestly,
yeah,
I feel some kind of way about the Red Wedding because rewatching it, Rob was kind of fucked up for doing that.
oh no, yeah, Rob violated by like he was supposed to like take one of his daughters, and then he
Yeah.
didn't take her, and then he went like Rob had some messed up because Rob had probably just fulfilled like his obligation.
Mm-hmm.
But that's like you know that's part of the not honoring your word. That's probably one of those moments
Yeah.
where Stark didn't like keep his word, and it cost
And
him.
taking the enemy lightly.
Yeah,
I mean, because you know Walter Frey. Nobody seemed. I didn't see nobody that like Walter Frey in that show. Whoever was talking to him, whether it was, Tywin or Roose or or Rob or Catelyn or anybody, they didn't seem. He just seemed like a weirdo, and he was, So it was definitely a quite of redemption with it was a bit of redemption when Arya took him out, but
right.
but yeah, I mean, he was used as a tool that you're the enemy of Rob because you screwed over my this marriage that was supposed to happen, and Rob didn't seem to I want to say remorseful, but he didn't seem it felt like he didn't care what Walter Frey felt about it, and that's where I think it
No,
kind of you know went awry.
yeah, yeah, definitely. Like he thought he should have the right to fall in love with whoever he wanted to, and he didn't. Not in this situation. Like you had an arranged marriage, and you were supposed to honor that. And like you said, he underestimated the phrase. Like he didn't think it through. He didn't think that like you disrespect Walter Frey, maybe he aligns with the Lannisters, and then
Mm-hmm.
they slit your throat at a dinner. But that's the other thing. But that was treachery on all ends. Rob disrespected, but then the phrase you bring them under your roof, and they
Mm-hmm.
should have had the protection, but you violated that. The Lannisters
Mm-hmm.
violated it because they orchestrated it. But yeah, I mean, but you know, decisions have consequences. Rob and his dire wolf learned that when they switched bodies.
Yeah, it's sucky when they had the wolf head on them and shit, bringing them out the motherfucking. That was crazy, and Arya had to see that and all that. It was. Was that the end of season 3 or 2? I think it was 3. It feels
Probably
like
three,
3,
I
but I can't
think.
remember.
Yeah,
But just because you all invested in the show, and you like, oh man, Rob, he about to, because Rob was gaining ground
he
against the
was.
Lannisters, and that pretty much screwed anything from the North happening, you know,
Right.
uh, with the Lannisters, and you know it, it's always interesting to you very invested in the show to see like Catelyn got it. I mean, it's his mom, but Catelyn got it, just just by association. You know what I'm saying? Like, mom got to die too. All your crew got to die because they all
Yep.
showed up.
Yep. Yeah,
But
that's true. Hey,
yeah,
yeah,
let me
go
ask you this
ahead.
question. I'm gonna go ahead and pivot the conversation. How do you feel about nepotism in the NBA? Like, do you feel like that's? I mean, honestly, low key, I've only seen it with LeBron. I mean, of course, there's other players that are in the NBA that have a chance, or there were former players in the NBA that have current players in the NBA. Kenyon Martin. I don't know. I think Scottie Pippen still has a son in the league. Then you got Gary Payton Jr. which is another crazy story. That nigga got a son called Gary Payton Jr. and Gary Payton II. But anyway, but how do you feel about that? As far as like, do you think it's cool? Do you think it's because I feel like, and I'll lead into it a little bit, but I feel like nepotism in general, like say for instance you own a business or something like that, like most of the time you try to bring your kids into it, try to have them be a part of it. But I look at it from an NBA perspective that, well, you have these NBA teams, you got these owners, of course they have some family members that are working for the business, and not to say that they're not qualified or not, but they literally got the job because of who their father or grandfather was. So how do you feel about that for the players kind of doing that now? Like I said, it's only one that I can think of. Well, I mean, you had
there's
LeBron.
Giannis. There's
Giannis.
His brother has the roster spot because of Giannis.
Yeah, but you know what? I saw this video the other day, and it was Jeff Teague, I think, and he was saying how.
Yeah, he was hooping.
No. He was saying how Giannis can't do it without the Nassas there. Like not that he has to be on the court, like he's just like his eye, like him being there, like not like he could have been on the team, because now he's not on. I don't think he's just. I think he's just there, like he just shows up to his games. So it's kind of weird that, I mean, because Nassas could probably, I don't know, he could be on somebody's bench, I guess, but they said that Giannis needs him there to play, like to be around him, not necessarily to play or anything like that. So how do you feel about, because the Nassas definitely got some checks off of Giannis being in the league.
It don't matter to me. I mean, like I said, it's not like it happens frequently, and I think I didn't follow Bronny's. I don't follow Bronny's game. I don't know how he was. I know he had the heart condition. He had the one year at USC. Some people tell me that if the Lakers didn't threaten other teams, he would have he would have been taken. Some people tell me the first round. Other people tell me the second round. So in that regard, then apparently Bronny appears to be talented enough to make it to an NBA roster. Nobody drafted him because the Lakers made the threat, and so be it. Now, granted, like if Bronny was LeBron, I mean, those threats would have been fruitless because teams would have been like, yeah, well, I don't care what you say. I'm gonna take him because he's a generational talent. But I think he got drafted second to last, 57th, 56th pick,
55th, but yeah,
55th. Like, man, most players don't in that spot don't make a roster. Like, I don't think for Dalton Connect, they didn't cut Dalton Connect because they had to give Bronny a roster space. Most teams, I think they still get 15 roster spaces, 12 are active. Look, if the best player on your team, if his son is in the draft and your best player comes to you and says hey, I want y'all to draft my son. I want to play on the court with him. For one, how often is that gonna ever happen? Because most players don't get to be. Nobody's LeBron. Nobody's playing at his level at 40 where they can still with now Luka is probably the best player on that team, but before that, you would argue you probably with Anthony Davis injuries, LeBron for his Laker stretch, his Laker run has been the best player on that team. So I mean, how often are you going to get what player do we see right now that we think at 40 will be playing at 40 and be playing at that level that they'll be considered the best player in the league, or not, but at least the best player on their team. That they
top 5, top 10 player in general. He should not be doing what he's. I mean, he's talented. Don't get me wrong. I mean, but no one would expect him to be doing what he's doing at that level.
Yeah, so I don't think there's anything wrong for now. I didn't pay attention to what went on between him and Stephen A. Smith, and so I don't know what Stephen A. Smith. The only thing I'll say, somebody was telling me about it, making me seem like that. if Stephen A. Smith was giving legitimate criticism about
He
Bronny's
wasn't.
game,
He
then
wasn't.
LeBron. Okay, then see,
No,
yeah.
no,
So
no.
I don't
Stephen A.
know.
Smith
So
said. Stephen A. Smith said, "You as a father need to stop it." You know what I'm saying? And that was kind of like where it kind of,
stop what?
it got a little bit awry. It's like, bro, like you talking to me as his pops. You ain't talking to me as a player in the league. You're not talking to
Right.
me as a teammate or me being his teammate or anything like that. You're talking to me as like
Right.
I'm controlling it. And there's some, like I said, the way that it was said is, in my opinion, what spiked LeBron, but Stephen A didn't really. It's that situation where both sides could be right at the same time. It's right, like, okay, you called me out as a father, so I'm gonna check you on it.
And Stephen A. is unique, where I think Stephen A. makes like comments, not even necessarily Stephen A. I think the analysts today, like they get a little bit more personal with their commentary, and and I think there's in some ways, and sometimes it's maybe surprising that some of them don't get checked more often. But like the nepotism, like even thing with Giannis, like I can't pronounce his brother's name, but if Giannis went to the Bucks, so I need him here, and he wants to play, he wants to hoop though, and like maybe he is like, because the other thing I understand is like he could have not necessarily been a great role player, but he could have made other NBA teams probably.
Yeah, he's talented. He was on the Knicks. He was on the Knicks before before Giannis was even in the league. So I mean he was able to get a roster spot. Like he just, I don't know, maybe they just think that was like, we don't not necessarily need you. We need you on the sideline, but I don't know, hire him as a coach.
Yeah.
Or something.
Yeah. Well, maybe Giannis goes to him and he's like, now he's capable of getting an NBA roster spot on one of the other 29 teams. So no, I need y'all to give him a roster spot because if he doesn't get a roster spot with us, he could get a roster spot with the Knicks or somebody else. But I want him with me. And if the Bucks say like, shit, okay. Like I don't think anything is wrong in that situation because once again, like I don't think, like, point out to me where his brother getting a roster spot like resulted in somebody else not getting a roster spot. Like they won a championship. Like tell me that they traded. Like if you tell me, okay, they had to trade Chris Middleton because they had to like make sure they
save
could
a spot
pay
for the Nats.
Yeah, the Nats. Then yeah, okay. I'd be like, okay, y'all tripping now. Or you said like, hey, we couldn't make the trade for Dame because hey, that wouldn't work salary wise. Like, no, then I'll be like, oh, okay, nepotism is bad. But like, if these players are taking like a 14th or 15th roster spot, they're like, man, name your favorite team and tell me, like, I can't name. Well, part of the problem is I don't follow basketball as much as I used to, but I can't name somebody outside of like most of these teams' rotation. Like I was making an analogy about a coworker, and some things that are going on, and I basically said like, basically what I was trying to say is that like decisions were being made for like a scrub, as if a scrub was like LeBron or Luka. And I had to go look at the Lakers roster, and I just saw a name, Christian Kokolo, and that was the name I chose. I had no idea who this dude was. I don't know where he went to college. I don't know what he does. Like, all that to say is like every team, if you were to look at every team's roster, there's going to be like, when you get to the last 3-4 names, most of us aren't going to know unless you're just really into hoops and you just know everybody.
You just mentioned it. Christian Kokolo. I've never heard of that dude ever in my life. I don't know how much he makes. I don't know where he came out of school. I don't know anything about him. Only reason we know Bronny James is because he's associated with LeBron. Now, you say talent. He's talented to make the league, in my opinion. But
right.
If I put it like this, if Bronny was drafted with the 5th pick, and honestly, I probably can't tell you the top 5, top 10 picks this year. and I follow
You know,
basketball heavily. And I don't follow it as much as I used to, but I follow it a lot still. And I can't tell you some of these players on these because with the mix of the G League and stuff like that, it's hard to tell. Like the twin brothers, one of them play for Detroit, the other one play for Houston. I was looking up their history, and I was like, damn, okay, no college, only prep. Like they went to a high school prep, and then they went to the G League, and then they got drafted by both of the teams. Like I had no visibility on these players, and it's not like they were, they weren't like Cooper or anything like that, where they were highly touted out of high school. These were they were talented. They were 4-star players, but they weren't players that was on my radar. So when they get drafted in the league, and only reason why, honestly, I know that they're twins was because it was a video that came out and they were doing the announcements, for Detroit.
Oh yeah.
And he was like, no, that's him, because they had the light shining on amen or whatever. And I was like, okay, it's twins. And I didn't realize there were 2 twins in there, but I'm saying the exposure that you get from being associated to a player, because like I said, Kenyon Martin's son, you wouldn't know that. You wouldn't know that he was Kenyon Martin's son unless, because he used to go by, I think it goes by KJ Martin. Instead of Kenyon Martin Jr. or anything like that. But it's just interesting that, I mean, I'm all for it if you can get, like you said, there's not a lot of it, so it's not, I don't ever see it happening ever again. But I still don't feel like LeBron, LeBron, in my opinion, or Clutch Sports or whoever's behind it, they did something to say. And you just mentioned this a second ago, he might have gone in a different position in the draft, but he went to 55th. Like he might have got drafted 38th. He might have got drafted 45th. Who knows? But they shut it down and said, we're just going to draft him at this spot and keep it moving. And in my opinion, and I could be totally wrong, but essentially they were paying him like the position that he got drafted. So I would figure that they're paying him like he's a second rounder, but giving him guaranteed money. So I didn't see no problem with it, So
nah, as much money they got, and I know we got to wrap up soon. But I think to what you were saying about KJ Martin, I just want to say, like, I think, and this is just showing love to the man I hate, Scottie Pippen. But like I think like people don't realize. Like his son is in the league because like he doesn't have his father's name, because I think from what I understood, he took on his almost stepdaddy's last name, Jordan. So, he's in the league as like Scotty Jordan, I believe.
Is that you sure?
I mean, it works for my hatred of Scottie Pippen. I'm sure it's not true, but it works for my hatred to say that there's a player in the league that's going by Scotty Jordan because he took on his almost stepfather's name. Yeah. And so
okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'm with it.
Yeah, his stepdaddy Marcus Jordan, or I could say his.
You can't say Marcus, man. Marcus out here getting drunk and chilling on the side of railroad tracks with police officers, man. You gotta leave Marcus out of this, man. We can't,
which one was slaying Scotty's ex-wife then?
That was Marcus. That was Marcus. That was definitely Marcus. It wasn't Jeff. Jeff just went to Illinois and then for some reason transferred to go play with his brother, and I don't know, it just was downhill for them, their NBA career. So shout out if Michael Jordan could have even attempted to get his kids in the league, that shit wasn't going down. At least LeBron or Bronny has the talent to be able to do it. I mean, he's averaging in the G League, he's averaging 24-4. So he's not like terrible, or he's not like a bad player.
Extended time in the G League. Yeah, he probably just needs to spend extended time in the G League. Stop bringing them up, send them back down. Just let them play. Just let them
play. Just let them stay down there and go. It was weird too, and I know we're about to drop, but I know it was weird too. Even when he in the All-Star game, like for the G League All-Star game, he turned that down. I'm like, damn, like he's like, damn near that I'm an NBA player. I'm like, I don't know, bro. Like,
See
you
that?
need to.
Now that those are the things, and that's not necessarily. I mean, I guess like a nepotism thing. It's like, come on, man. Like, Bronny, you close to the. You're close to the being able at the end of your career, whatever it ends up being. You're as far as All Star, you're most likely to make a G League All Star team than an NBA All Star team, because even when people talk about your potential, you're maybe like a 3-and-D guy. Like, you're not necessarily an NBA All Star player. So, like, man, come on, man, play. What else are you doing, Bronny?
You
You
could
can't
just
play for the G
play.
League All Star team.
You could play, show that you could play with other stars, and then that only gives you
Yeah,
more. Like, the more you play, the more chance you get to show how great you are.
because if you
And if
ball
you're
out
not
in this All
playing in
Star
the
game,
NBA, if you're not balling in the NBA, nobody's seeing you. If you're
yeah,
barely in the G League, I mean, and when we see you in the G League, you playing good. It's like, okay, well, he's spotty, but when he gets to the NBA, he ain't gonna do nothing. Like, show consistency is my opinion. Like you said, I mean, playing
yeah,
the All-Star game if you can. So
yeah. Like, what else was you doing? Like, what was you doing that day? Like, talking about you
yeah.
an NBA player. All right, Bronny. Hey, all right. Let's be honest, Bronny. You're an NBA player, so that like the NBA and LeBron James could say that we had a father son on the court at the same time, which is cool. But man,
Yeah.
don't just sit on G League All Star game. Like I'll say this: I don't think Bronny James is gonna be an NBA All Star in the next 10 years.
Oh no, definitely not.
Which
I
is
mean,
which is fine, but it's
mhm.
like, dog, don't say it like you. Like, it's not like you. I'm trying to think. Like, it's not like you were Victor Wembanyama, and like, I don't know, somehow he was in some bizarre
Second year in the
world.
league, second year in the
Yeah,
league, All-Star,
yeah,
like
but
killing it. So
it's like not in some bizarre world where like his rookie year he was down in the G League hooping, and then they said, "Hey, we want you for the G League All Star game," and then Victor could have been like, "Nah, man, I'm good, man. I'm an NBA player, because you're gonna be a All Star, Bronny. You ain't whatever, man. That's a whole nother thing."
yeah, but that's
But
all
yeah,
good.
that's funny.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it was crazy. But yeah, thanks, Ed, for jumping in. I know we gotta go. Got another call, but thanks. We got some other topics to talk about too. Appreciate you. Make sure you
Right.
hit like and subscribe. Thanks, Ed, for jumping on. We'll talk more soon, and peace.
All right, peace.